Welcome. If you're new here, welcome in. Pull up a chair. This is the Gilded Leaf, a space for tea, soul work, and plant wisdom for the quiet conversations that live beneath the surface. Wherever you're listening from, I invite you to put in your headphones, settle in, take a breath, and join me for a few moments of gentle reflection. Hi, I'm Bridget, the writer and voice behind The Gilded Leaf. And if we're sitting together right now, this is the part where I'd slide you a warm cup of tea, take a breath, and say, okay, here's my truth. For those that don't know me, I'm a leaf lover, a tea drinker. Honestly, I drink tea all day long, every day, 365 days a year. Tea has always been the one constant comfort in my life. The one thing that shows up for me no matter what season. It steadies me. It's that medicinal way that I give myself the honor. And for me, the daily ritual of boiling water, steeping leaves, pausing long enough to notice myself, that's the good stuff. That's where the Gilded Leaf was born. It began as a passion project for me, something that I could offer into my little corner of the world to build community, to share education, to honor the beauty of plants and the gentle ways that they help us heal. So before we continue, let's pause and drink a sip of tea. I hope you have a warm cup. Let's get into today's steeping. If you're new here, this section is where I introduce you to herbs or herbal blends with energetic descriptions, along with why I've chosen them to hold hands in this podcast. So let's get into it. What's in my cup? So today's steeping is for root support. We're going to be talking about the root chakra. And the root chakra is what supports all other chakras. So for this episode, we're beginning at the root. And so I reached for herbs that support steadiness, nourishment, and nervous system repair. The kind of support that doesn't rush in with answers, but stays. So today's steeping includes oat straw, ashwagandha, and a touch of reishi. I chose oat straw because it's deeply replenishing. It's for systems that have been running on empty for too long. It doesn't sedate, it restores, and it reminds the body what enough feels like. Then ashwagandha, it's an adaptogen that supports us through long seasons of stress. Not acute panic, but the kind of stress that settles into the bones, the muscles, and the breath. It helps the nervous system remember how to stand without always feeling like one needs to brace for something. And reishi, of course, a favorite mushroom of mine, which provides the quiet, the grounding. It's like the ancient medicinal that offers deep nervous system companionship. It's not flashy, it doesn't push, it steadies. It's always one of my favorites. This blend isn't about force and calm, it's about offering the body something to lean on. And it's quite good. Don't forget the honey for a little sweetness to warm the soul. So let's talk about the root chakra. This episode opens up a 7-part series exploring the chakras as a way of understanding emotional life, nervous system states, and the slow work of becoming, not as something to fix, but as a way of listening more carefully to how the body holds experience. This is not a series about fixing yourself. It's about understanding yourself with more compassion. We begin at the root because everything else depends on it. The root chakra is connected to safety, survival, and belonging. It's where the nervous system asks its earliest questions. Am I safe? Do I belong here? Can I trust support? Can I trust the timing? Can I rest? When the root is supported, it feels like emotional steadiness. Not the absence of fear, but the ability to stay present when fear arises. It can feel like a trust in life, like a sense of belonging in your body, or a calm under pressure that doesn't come from certainty, but from enoughness. Enoughness. I don't think that's a word, but that's how I can explain it. When the root is strained or overwhelmed, it can show up as anxiety, hypervigilance, scarcity thinking, restlessness, or persistent feeling of being ungrounded or unsafe, even when there is no immediate threat. This isn't a personal failure. This is a nervous system doing its best to protect you. But I want to slow down here and speak from my own body for a moment, because the root chakra has never been theoretical for me. Safety was not something I grew up assuming. As a child, I lived in a city, and by the time I was around 9, 10 years old, I was already navigating the world in ways that felt far too big for my nervous system. In retrospect, I was a latchkey kid in the 70s and 80s. I took the school bus. I learned how to move through public transportation early. And even when nothing overtly bad happened, my body learned something very specific: that the world required vigilance, that I needed to stay alert, that unsafe could arrive without warning, and that I didn't necessarily have the tools to deal with something if that were to happen. That feeling lived in me as a constant hum in a big city, a background of anxiety that didn't always have words, but had plenty of sensations, right? In my body, I always felt tightness, readiness for the flight or fight, or the sense that I needed to manage myself carefully in order to get through the day. Layered on top of that was something I didn't have a language for at the time. I now, 2020 hindsight, understand that I was living with undiagnosed ADHD. Something that simply wasn't named or understood in the same way when I was growing up. What that meant was that my nervous system ran hot. I was always wired, curious, loud, fidgety, sensitive, with emotional highs and lows. I mean, that was clown college. And because there was no framework for understanding that, dopamine and serotonin weren't tested, I learned early that I needed to contain myself in order to quote unquote belong, or to be quote unquote normal. What is normal anyway? I learned how to settle my nervous system because I was trying not to be seen as different or difficult. I tried to soothe myself out, quiet myself down. I learned how to apologize for my energy, for my energetic footprint, because it was too much. And that carried forward into adulthood in ways I didn't recognize at first. Through strained relationships, misattunements, failed romantic and or platonic connections, and a persistent belief that something about me was fundamentally off. And that was the lie. It took years of self-evaluation, of social missteps, of thinking the work was about becoming less loud, before I realized that what I was struggling with lived at the level of the nervous system. I wasn't broken. I was under-supported. I didn't lack character. I lacked tools. Learning how to work with my nervous system changed everything. Understanding that the right balance of magnesium, vitamin D, L-theanine, and could do wonders. Learning how breath could bring me back into my body. Discovering meditation as a way to orient and return into my body. These weren't fixes. They are my relationships, and through them, I began to experience something that felt new. It felt like enoughness. This is why root work matters so much to me. Root work isn't about eliminating anxiety or becoming unshakable. It's about learning safety without rigidity, belonging without erasure, support without collapse. It's about recognizing that so many of our so-called issues are adaptabilities, intelligent responses to environments that ask more of us than we are equipped to give at the time. When the root is supported, we don't suddenly become fearless. We become steadier. We trust timing a little more. We feel held enough to pause. When it's strained, it doesn't mean we've failed. It means something in us is trying to protect. That's the work here. We're not fixing, we're not forcing, but understanding with care. I want to talk about some of the things that have helped me, and one of them is in a grounding reflection. If it feels okay, take a moment right now to notice your body. Notice where you're seated. Notice the weight of yourself being held by the chair, the floor, the earth beneath you. You don't need to feel calm. Just notice that you are here. You might quietly ask yourself, what helps me feel just a little more supported today? Not safe forever, just supported enough for this moment. And let the answer be simple, right? For me, I'm a big music lover, and sound in the nervous system supports me in so many ways. For those who find sound supportive like I do, low, steady tones can help the nervous system settle. There's music out there on YouTube and Spotify about frequencies associated with grounding, like 396 hertz may support releasing fear and tension. Slow rhythms, gentle hand-pan drumming, natural sounds like rain or footsteps also can help the body orient. These aren't cures, they're companions, ways of reminding the system where it is. This episode is a beginning, a place to arrive before moving upward. A reminder that safety is not something we achieve once and then keep forever. It's a daily practice of checking in with your root. It's something we return to again and again with care. Before we part for today, I want to thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and showing up, making space for the quiet things that move the heart and warm the soul. I hope this felt less like a podcast and more like a shared moment, like sitting with an old friend with a warm cup of tea where nothing needs to be fixed and nothing needs to be rushed. Just a time for you and me to sit and be together. If something in this podcast stayed with you or softened you, I'm grateful because honestly, that's the milk and honey of the gilded leaf. Creating space to pause, to listen inward, and to remember ourselves with care. So, let me take a sip. As always, this is Bridget signing off, steeped in intention and offered with care.